Today on Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, we're talking all about our favorite announcements from the Nintendo Direct today and our last minute Nintendo Switch 2 predictions. This is the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. Cue the intro. Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, evening, midnight, wherever you are, wherever you're listening. Welcome to the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, the weekly podcast where we talk about the reviews, previews, impressions, topics of the weeks, about the games you should be playing in your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. I am your host, Samson, aka Samson XP on all the socials, and joined to me today is, of course, SirDrJM, aka Jordan. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Keeping warm, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're all cozied up for those listening. If you come over to YouTube, Jordan's got his hood on and a hat. He's probably got snow pants on for some reason.
That's right. Let me show off this hoodie for a second here. I don't know if you can see that. That's
it says, or maybe you can say what it says.
Strengthen the North, Toronto Ultra, and then check this out.
We're gonna make a model show. Nice. It says, Strengthen the North Toronto. Is that one of their newer stuff? That's pretty sick.
No, actually, this is an old one. It was a limited run thing. I actually won a contest on Twitter for it. And they sent me this.
Free, the best one.
Came with this coaster that, holding it up for the camera, it actually is like a floppy disk, if you know what a floppy disk is. This was actually like a tag on the hoodie when I got it. And they also sent me a Snickers and a toque in that same contest. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you loaded up on merch. Shout out Toronto Ultra.
That's right.
Special place in our hearts. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. But we're not here to talk about esports. That's a different podcast of a bygone era.
That's right.
We're here to talk about all the games that you should be playing in your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. We are 2 9 to 5 workers, more or less. And we enjoy playing games in our evening time and our off time. And that's what we want to bring to you is our recommendations of what we've been playing as we go here and there. So the topic of this week's episode is the Nintendo Switch announcements, plus our last minute Switch 2 predictions, guesses, rumor roundup. We'll see how it is. If you like what you're listening to, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share it to a friend or an enemy, as we were saying last week, and leave a comment about, I kind of already said that, but leave a comment about what you think, what your favorite prediction is, or announcement was, and what your prediction is for the Switch 2 next week. Because the day is March 27th, 2025, Thursday, if you will. By the time you're listening to this, it is Friday, and Nintendo announced that, I think it was just yesterday, like the Wednesday.
Yeah, it was.
That we're doing Direct, and everyone's like, okay, I guess we are. More or less.
Yeah.
People didn't even have a chance to like guess. And then Nintendo was like, here we go, 7 a.m. Wake up, everybody. Mm-hmm. So here we are, post 7 a.m. And post all these announcements. What we'll do today is maybe Jordan and I will just pick and choose our favorite highlights. We won't go too long on it because I don't think many of these games speak to us. But if there's a game we missed and it speaks to you, make sure to let us know in the comments below. But yeah, it doesn't really seem like too many of these games speak to us. And then we're going to dive into our last minute predictions into the Switch 2 announcement next week on April 2nd. We're not doing any live reaction or whatever for that, but we will be talking about it on next week's episode of Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. So make sure you are staying subscribed on YouTube and on all our socials for that at Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. Diving back into the Nintendo Switch Direct of March 2025. I kind of like how they kind of did it right at the end of fiscal, right at the end of the month. Get everybody ready for the new fiscal year. Maybe that was intentional. But I'm pulling for the list from IGN. Jordan, I'll let you do the honors. Is there an announcement that perked your interest in all this?
Oh, man. Well, if you're going to start with me, I'm going to start with one that I don't know if I would describe it as perked or piqued my interest, but I would describe it as interesting. And that was the announcement of virtual game cards on the Nintendo Switch.
That is interesting. That
Nintendo. I'm gonna grab my camera here because I want you to listen to me for a second. Listen, let's get right up, nice and close.
Whoa, we are
nice and close. I've got the red light on here just for the Nintendo Switch. What are you doing, Nintendo? What? Whose idea was this? Who? Tell me, please. Because this was absolutely insane. I have no idea why they thought they needed to do this, why this wasn't just a tweet or a blog post. Like, this is the kind of thing that if PlayStation did this kind of BS, it would have been a blog post. It would have gone up on PlayStation blog, and it would have just been like, hey, we're doing this weird thing that nobody truly understands the purpose of or the reasoning behind. Now, look, I understand. I have heard that if you have more than one Switch, it can be challenging at times to juggle games between the two consoles. I don't understand why we needed to reinvent the wheel on this. Let me log into my account on one, let me log into my account on the other, and play the game on both. Why, Nintendo? Why did you have this, whatever it was, 10-minute segment? It was probably more like 2 minutes, but why did you have this entire segment of this presentation dedicated to explaining how to rent games to your brother or something like that? I truly was watching this just like mind blown that they felt the need to include this in what is probably the last Nintendo Direct that will be focused solely on the Switch. I'm sure the Switch, Switch 1, as we'll call it, will probably be mentioned in future Directs because there will certainly be a crossover period where games come to both the Switch and the Switch 2. But man, I was just like, holy cow, this completely misses the mark, slows all momentum that you might have had in this presentation, which I'll be honest, wasn't really that momentous, if you will. But holy cow, was I blown away at the convoluted, confusing, and ultimately, I felt useless messaging behind this announcement.
Damn.
Yes, I'm sorry, but
Evil
Nintendo,
Jordan.
I have a ring light here that is the shape of a hole. Some might call it a hole. And I felt like you needed to be torn a new a-hole because of
Oh my gosh.
because this did not need to be in this presentation. Again, it should have been a tweet. It should have been a blog post. Or just put up its own video. Just say, hey, we're announcing this weird thing that nobody's going to like. And just tweet it out and be done with it. It did not need to be in this presentation. And I bet every other game developer and every other game in this presentation was just shaking their head. Like, what? Why did you put this after, before, 2 games before, 2 games after my game, Anyways, that's how I felt about this silliness.
It is a weird way to announce it. My mind is of two places. Yes, it is super weird, super janky. It really should have been a blog post that people can read and study and look over and then really truly understand it
as a qualifier. You shouldn't have to study anything. It should be straightforward. It should be easy. And on top of that, I think that's what they were trying to say was, hey, look at how easy this thing is. Look at this great system we built. But it wasn't. It was confusing as all hell. And I'm sitting there like, why do I need this? I actually do have 2 Switches. I have a full docking station one, an original Switch. And then I also actually have a Switch Lite. That said, I've never really tried to bring a game from one to the other because I just don't need to. So again, I was just scratching my head at this. And I hope other people felt the same.
A general sentiment online is, people are confused. I think what makes it more confusing is they make it sound, and for those who don't know, Nintendo introduced a new way to rent your games out, lend your games out to your friends and pass it on to your family or friends or whoever is in your network. And the way to do that is they use the analogy of a game cartridge, which first step kind of makes sense, right? Like, Jordan, if I were to lend you Super Mario, I'll give you the cartridge, and we can even be like, you can have it for 2 weeks and then you got to give it back. And that's kind of the restriction they put there.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
I get it.
Then the thing is, I think they kind of leaned too heavily. They tried to rely a little too much on the game cartridge analogy, because now it's like, oh, but the game cartridge goes back in 2 weeks. This game cartridge actually belongs to this system, so this system can only rent out to other ones. I think where I get hung up is I rent the game cartridge to you, and then maybe you'll be like, oh, I want to actually lend this to my daughter's Switch, but you can't because you don't own the game. It's like, but even though I'm like, Jordan, yeah, you can pass it on to her, you can't. And that's where the analogy kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
So I don't really know why. And the 2-week restrictions kind of weird too.
Yeah. And like, I had heard that yes, for people with multiple Switches, it's challenging. Hopefully this does solve that problem. But I think the big thing I take issue with is they didn't explain that. All they did, I think, was confuse people. I mean, again, everyone knows you and I are both, fans of Kind of Funny. I'm sure we both watched the Kind of Funny coverage of this, of them kind of dissecting it, watching it, and reacting and everything. And someone like Tim Geddes, who knows the system, who also says he has 2 Switches and he does transfer between the 2, he did say it can be challenging, and hopefully this solves that. There should be no hopefully. You should have done, if there's a hopeful, if there's a question, if there's a misunderstanding about how this works, you should have come up with a better way to present it. And I don't care. Maybe it still is that game cartridge analogy, because you're right. I do think that's something everyone can understand. I've got a game cartridge. I hand it to my friend. They now have it. They'll give it back to me after 2 weeks. Everyone can understand that. But that's where it ended. After that, it was just confusing. Why are they telling us this? What is the purpose behind this? There was also, I saw people talking about the fact that, it kind of comes back to the Nintendo Switch Online family plans. Like there's a little bit of, tying this into that, making it easier for families and to share these things. Again, it was just convoluted, confusing, didn't make sense. They should, yes, I agree. They should have tied it all back into the family plan, because, how many people do you know that you got, like, you can use that family plan on 8 different people, which is bonkers. But like, they should have tied it into something to make the messaging just make it make sense, Samson. It make sense.
They should have led with the family plan thing.
Yes.
I think, first of all.
Let's talk about the Nintendo Switch family plan. We know you've had challenges in the past sharing games between family members.
Mommy and sister. Yeah.
Well, with this new feature, we're going to look at how you can now share games. Intro it. Give us the context. They just didn't.
It's also interesting because I'm thinking of how Valve does it with their Steam library. Like they have a pretty seamless, more or less, system. And actually, this is the old system. They got rid of that, and I think now it's more open, which is also a weird choice. Well, in the end, it's all they're trying to stop piracy. With the Nintendo Switch stuff. But with Steam, it's like, if we are in a family, first of all, there's like a weird dance you have to do. I have to log into like someone else's computer with my account, and then once I go back to my own computer, I'll be like, yes, this is actually my computer too, wink wink, and then you can share games. But then if they're playing something in my library, I can't
play it at the same time.
So there's that. Now it's a little more open, where it's like, are you a family? And you just have to be like, yes, we are a family, and you guys can use your library for whatever.
Right.
But I think it's still restricted to like, if someone in the family is playing Skyrim, I can't also play Skyrim. It's a little more open. Like I can still use my library, but I can't play that one game because there's one copy.
Yeah, it's like,
so I feel like that makes sense. Yeah. But I don't know. Switch is also an offline system, so there's no DRM check there. It is very weird though.
And I get it. They're obviously trying to solve a problem here. I just think the messaging behind it was real bad. Real bad. It
should have been hey, we have a new way to share games. We have to Switch 2.
Let's
check out our
talk
blog for more.
That honestly, that would have been like, okay, great. Give us, it's a 30-second thing and then we're over it. That would have been great.
Yeah, because they had some great visuals and little things, but they went by so fast you didn't have a chance to understand it before. Weird Nintendo decisions.
Yes, absolutely. The W and D's.
Amazing. That was actually kind of on my list. I didn't know whether to put it as my announcement.
I'm
thing,
sorry.
But I was like,
I didn't want to start off like this on this negative note. I promise. After I've got positive things to say about other things.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have you hold on to that in a second, because I want to start with my favorite announcement out of this, and it is a little game called Rhythm Heaven Groove.
Oh.
Rhythm Heaven Groove. For those who don't know what Rhythm Heaven is, it is a more or less rhythm game, if you didn't grab by the title. But instead of, like Guitar Hero, where notes come down on a lane highway and you're trying to hit them on the right time, or I think a more modern thing would be like Fortnite Festival. Rhythm Heaven is more like you're playing little art pieces, music set pieces, and you tap or swipe or do actions based on what you hear and what you see. But there is like I don't even know what you call it. There is a way to play the game where you're only listening to the audio cues.
Okay.
This franchise has been around for a long time. Like, I played it primarily on DS and got really into it. But from what I heard, they haven't been around for like 10 years because the original composer had some health issues. But now they're coming back, which is great. It's interesting because it's not a very mechanically challenging game, but it is mechanically challenging because of all the timing. For those watching, I'm just going to turn up the trailer a little bit to kind of paint what I'm thinking. So I think in this example they use, there's like a little a, I, U, E, and then you're the O, so you have to time your A, I, U, E, O. I don't even know what you are in this little ball man. Yeah, so your whole role is to be the O at the very end, and they'll trip you out. They'll be like, add a little triplet here, a little eighth note there, 16th note, and you're like, okay, different parts of song, different parts of this.
You might even be able to play it with your eyes closed.
This is what I'm most excited for. I think let's see. Yeah, you got like a can crushing one. You can definitely play this all with just listening. But you also get these like cool artistic tableaus that you also play with. So that's fun. Rhythm Heaven Groove. But 2026. I don't know why they announced this so early. It's like, all right, now you're just teasing me here. Do you have a history with Rhythm Heaven?
No, I actually, I don't know that I knew what Rhythm Heaven... Rhythm Heaven. Why am I getting all tongue-tied on that?
I know. I almost said Rhythm Groove.
Rhythm Groove, yeah. I don't have any history with it. I don't know that I knew what Rhythm Heaven was. Like, I knew the name, the title, but you could have shown me, 3 different title cards that all said Rhythm Heaven, and I wouldn't have been able to tell you which is from an actual game that existed. So it was... I always like kind of seeing these kind of things. It feels a little bit like getting a little bit of an education in some of these storied franchises that, I might not be so familiar with. But I like the idea. It strikes me sort of as, in a way, like a WarioWare kind of thing. Obviously, it's not minigame, focused kind of thing. It's rhythm focused. But just in the way that, hey, you're going to play through all these little different snippets, these in different styles, almost in a mini game fashion kind of thing, right? But again, it comes back to, the hook is that rhythm, that beat behind it all. And in that little intro that you played, there's actually one part where they say, it literally says on screen, you might get so good that you can play with your eyes closed. Because like you said, what it comes down to is matching the beat, right? Doing things to the rhythm of the whatever you're seeing or whatever you're playing, right? You don't need to see it if you can hear the music and follow the beat. So really cool idea.
Yeah, definitely give it a try. It's on 3DS as well, but I think they took down the eShop, so you can't download it anymore.
What about on the Wii? Was it ever on Wii?
Oh, I think it was actually.
Rhythm Heaven Games.
Rhythm Heaven Fever, yeah. There you go.
There we go. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at images of it, I do recognize that logo treatment, Rhythm Heaven in the blue outline kind of thing.
So allegedly, I might have looked into something a little while ago, but there is a custom Rhythm Heaven song community out there online. And there was a way to play custom Rhythm Heaven tracks, like of popular music, like
right.
And you can find this on YouTube. I forget what it's called exactly. I genuinely forgot what it was called exactly, but it's like something like it's something close to Rhythm Heaven, but it's like a custom song community, kind of like Osu, but for Rhythm Heaven online. So if you really wanted, you could try it out on your PC as well. As well as I think there's a game called Melatonin out there that's like that.
Yeah, I heard that.
There was a that game I was playing a while ago, Rift of the Necrodancer, had some Rhythm Heaven kind of mini games in it. In some of the levels.
Was Rift not in the?
Oh, yeah, I think that was
direct,
actually in the direct as well.
Yeah, it was. There it is. I just looked
made by Brace Yourself Games. Shout out Maddie here in Vancouver. That also has some Rhythm Heaven style kind of games in there as well. So there's lots. It's such a simple game too. Like it's nostalgic too, and actually nostalgic rhythm games. Shout out Patapon as well. I also played that a lot in my bed secretly under the covers. There's that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Rhythm Heaven Groove.
Nice.
2026, man. I guess it'll come faster than I think, but it's like, why even tease me like that? Just tell me the day it comes out, and I would have bought it.
Well, and I looked it up. Rhythm Heaven Fever was the one that came to Wii, but it does look like it also came to Wii U. So not the first time that a Rhythm Heaven game has kind of been split between console generations. Now, of course, we know plenty of things got ported to the Wii U, and plenty more things got ported off the Wii U and onto the Switch. So, obviously the audience on the Switch 1 is there. Doesn't necessarily look like the most demanding game. So I'm sure it'll, be one of those games in that kind of transitionary period, right? Where a lot of games for the first probably 2 years of the Switch 2 will come to both consoles. So.
Yep. As it should.
Yep.
With Switch 2 upgrades. I'll come back to that.
That's right.
Jordan, what's your second favorite announcement from today?
You know what? The second item that I will shout out is a little game called Witchbrook, which of course, I'll read the quick description here. This is just, I'm pulling from IGN.com. Of course, they published an article of just sort of, hey, here's everything we saw in the direct about the Switch 2. This was Eric Van Allen posted this. Let me jump back to the Witchbrook section. There it is. The long-awaited spellcrafting and witchery life sim from Chucklefish showed off some new gameplay today, spotlighting its chill vibes and co-op gameplay set in a cozy witch academy. Witchbrook will be open for enrollment sometime this holiday season. So, of course, Chucklefish Games, not the dev, but actually the publisher behind Stardew Valley. Of course, if you're a gamer, you know what Stardew is. And the funny thing is, Stardew never really grabbed me. I did try it out a couple times, and I do have friends that are quite into it. But I think something about the actual style of it, the art of it, with that kind of, it's almost a 2D plane, kind of, a left to right navigation type thing, just never really grabbed me. Whereas this, although both have kind of a pixelated art style, Witchbrook really strikes me a lot more. And again, published by the same publisher, not necessarily made by the same people, but Witchbrook just, I think, has a lot more style to it, in my opinion. And I really dig the themes, this whole witchy thing they got going on. There's a couple shots, if you're watching the video here that Samson's got up, a couple shots of you flying on a broomstick, just clearing the city and everything. And I'm like, oh, I'm all about that. Anything to make your navigation easier once you get into something like a cozy game. Just I really love that. Give me a goddamn bike in Animal Crossing. That's all I've ever asked for. It's not all I've ever asked for. I have a lot of asks of Animal Crossing, but I do love the series and the game. And yeah, Witchbrook, really just beautiful looking game. And from what I understand, they announced this quite a while ago, and it's long awaited. So looking forward to seeing how it turns out, and if it can live up to the hype.
Interesting. It kind of reminds me of Harry Potter. I
could see that.
Which is in a school.
Maybe? I don't know if it's necessarily a school. It says spellcrafting and witchery life sim. So who knows? Maybe going to school is a part of it. But I think it's more about just living life in this witch town.
Interesting.
Kind of thing. Of course, I'm sure you'll learn new spells and stuff like that. So there's an education element.
Yeah, I really like the art style too. It gives me reminds me of. Habbo Hotel.
I was just about to say, okay, if I'm being honest, it reminds me of Habbo Hotel.
Yeah. It's that, like you're saying, that diagonal plane where it's not up down. It's like
it's not left right flat like a Metroidvania. It's shifted, and I really dig that perspective. But yes, Habbo Hotel. I mean, if you are our age, you probably spent some time on Habbo Hotel when you probably shouldn't have. When you were younger. And that's good. It really gets me like that. And you know what? Just again, shouting out the art style and the direction and everything. The architecture, I really like the architecture of these buildings that you're seeing and everything. Yeah.
There's just so much detail in everything that you can really just every frame of painting, just stand and look at it. What else did it remind me of? Like it actually does kind of remind me of those not old but early MMORPGs. Like I don't know if you know Gaia
RuneScape?
Online.
Oh yeah,
RuneScape actually. Maple Story a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Sure.
I didn't know you'd be into that. Witchbrook.
You know what? Honestly, the funny thing is, I actually really like the look of a lot of cozy games. The problem is cozy games for me obviously are a huge time sink. So really the biggest one I've ever spent any time with is Animal Crossing. And that is coming from the original GameCube one. I was big into the original one on GameCube, technically an N64 game in terms of the actual original release, doesn't matter. The problem is the time sink. And for me, I've talked about this a couple times on the show before, but like cozy games are one of those games for me or that genre for me. Those are stream games, right? If I ever make it big as a streamer and I can spend 8 hours a day streaming, I'm going to be all over cozy games. I will play so many of them because
I'm sure there's a market for cozy game streamers.
Oh, I mean, I think there's a ton of them out there, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so many of them really draw me in, and I'm like, I just want to vibe out, drink my own tea. There's another one actually. Speaking of drinking my tea, there's one that has just kind of got some buzz around it. I forget what it's called, but you're literally brewing tea is like kind of your main job in that game. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts talk about it just recently.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I can't remember what it's called. Wanderlust?
Wanderstop.
Wanderstop. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, hearing a lot about that one, I'm like, oh man. Again, it's something about cozy games really draws me in. It's just I don't have the time to sink into them. So anyways.
That's pretty cool though. Like and there's so many cozy games. But this one does pique my interest too, because I thought it was like a Hogwartsy thing, like cozy Hogwarts Legacy. But yeah, I don't know. Is it all cozy, or do you think there's like some combat action kind of stuff at the same time? You know what? If there isn't, that's fine.
I truly don't know. I would probably guess that there isn't really. I think, since we're talking about, what was it?
Wanderstop.
Since we're talking about Wanderstop, I know that was when Wanderstop was first kind of revealed. The end of the first trailer kind of hinted at the fact that there was something sinister going on, and like you might have some sort of combat, some sort of action that comes in later. And I think since it's now, I'm not sure if it's released or if it's just in like early access.
Nope, it's out. You can buy it.
It is. Okay. So now that people are playing it, I think they're finding that that's not really true. And maybe that kind of hinted more at sort of the theme of the game and this sort of story that it's actually telling. I don't need to go into it because, again, I haven't played it. I've just listened to a number of podcasts talk about it. But yeah. So anyways.
Interesting. Witchbrook. Highlight number 2.
Yep.
1. Let's see.
My first one wasn't really a highlight, so it was kind of a low light. So
more of a pain point.
Yes. Anyways, what's your second one?
I'm just gonna jump to the old tried and true, the old Pokemon Legend ZA. Pokemon Legend ZA got a new trailer, which is like kind of, I guess it's not soon. It's been like a month since the Pokemon Presents.
True.
It's like a simple trailer, just giving us a couple more details about kind of the story, kind of what you're playing for in the game. It's not just all running around. But basically, what we learned from this trailer is that the overarching, I guess, competitive part of the game, like the gyms and Elite Four, is actually something called the ZA Royale. And in this mode, you fight trainers only at nighttime for some reason to build up your rank from Z to A. And then I guess that's just like your like getting your gym badges or whatever all the way from Z to A, and then you fight the champion or whatever. I don't know what letter comes after or before A, so we'll see there. But they just kind of showed more shots of the city. No catacombs yet. I was kind of hoping for that. Talk a little bit about the wild areas where you catch Pokemon. And then, about the trainers you fight. And it's kind of like the more and more they're showing off of this game. I don't know if they're just keeping stuff close to their chest, because Nintendo is also known to do that. I wonder if this is just going to be like a lot smaller of an experience than what everyone is thinking it's going to be. Like everyone expects these huge epics with Pokemon where you go for like different biomes, to see a whole bunch of different trainers. But I wonder if, like, because it takes place only in the city, you're only going to have this city part. It really is just going from Z to A, fighting the trainers and the ranks, and then like going through the story. I did find it interesting that they let you like they're bringing back the vision locking. Like when you get caught in the vision cone of somebody, they'll come challenge you, but you can also sneak up on trainers and attack their Pokemon without them knowing, which I also thought was funny. It's like you're just minding your own business, and then suddenly somebody like jumps you. But I guess if you're hanging out in that area anyways,
you gotta be on your guard.
It's implied. One other thing I noticed was like they said something about like timing matters. So when you input the command of your attack matters. So that's kind of exciting. Like putting Pokemon more into active, more action gamey. I'm sure like position matters. I don't know if there's a dodge and roll button. But that's kind of all the details we got from this little update. Still no release date, but all in all, still excited. I'll be playing it. And we'll see. I am curious about what other surprises they have for us. Did this change anything for you, Jordan? This trailer?
It's tough. I mean, am I going to play it? I would lean towards no. I'm always open to playing Pokemon games, but I just have never really fallen into it with one of them. I kind of like where your head is at, talking about it maybe being a little bit of a smaller experience. Now, one question I have that you would probably know better than I know one of the big complaints about recent Pokemon entries has been the performance on the Switch. In reveal trailers and announcement trailers and showing off gameplay, have people picked up on that in the promotional trailers they've released and things like that?
I think in Scarlet and Violet they did.
Okay.
I remember when that trailer came out, everyone's like, oh, wow, this looks cool. But like the trees look a little off, right? Like the terrain looks a little off, right?
Okay. Because I watched this and was kind of like, you know what? I would have expected to see worse performance. Now, of course, any trailer can be fluffed and you're always going to put your best foot forward when it comes to showing off those things.
Yeah.
But, frame rate wise, I mean, you're not going to get more than 30 frames per second on a Switch or anything like that. But ultimately, I just didn't think it looked too bad when I was watching that trailer for Pokemon ZA. So I was a little bit surprised by that. I actually find it more appealing hearing that, you're thinking maybe it'll be a bit of a smaller experience, right? I think that is one of the things that it comes back to the time, like, do find daunting is, hey, if I actually want to beat this game, I have to play it for, hundreds of hours or, even tens of hours kind of thing, navigating through all these different biomes, these different cities and everything. But yeah, I'm very curious about this one. I'm always curious about the evolutions in the Pokemon games and where of course I mean the actual evolutions, but I more so mean from game to game, what systems do they change and adapt, and just what the general reception is of them. So
I do think like modern times they are trying a little harder, especially after Scarlet and Violet. They're taking their time with this. They're letting it sit a little longer, because for a while we were getting one a year, and it like a year to finish a Pokemon game sounds silly, but it does take a lot out of me as well. I'm playing the Scarlet and Violet trailer, and even I haven't watched this since they started announcing it, but that looks a lot better than this already.
Yeah.
And they're just picking and choosing the best shots.
Mhm.
But yeah, like Pokemon is a fun franchise to keep an eye on. But it's also like you can also enjoy Pokemon on your phone with Pocket, or the trading card game. It's not the only way to find a way to enjoy a Pokemon.
Yep. And as you know, that's kind of where I lean. It's Pokemon is basically a mobile game to me now, between different versions. So
fair enough. What do you think of the new set, real quick, in Pokemon Pocket?
I would say, I mean, I still haven't fallen off, surprisingly enough. And recently I've gotten more adventurous with building my decks for battling, and I'm kind of finding new life in the game. I like the new set. I don't have any shinies yet, which is a little bit disappointing, given this is what the whole, kind of the whole idea behind the set. Yeah, that's my initial review, having spent 24 hours with it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like might have been a big question to ask because I barely dug into it yet.
How are you feeling?
I'm excited just for ranked battles. I really needed.
Oh, sure.
I think I liked the competitive part of TCGs. Like, I got really, as you know, I got really into collecting Pokemon cards this year, but kind of collected the ones I want. And right now the market is really, really hot, so it's not really fun to go to the store and buy packs because you can't even find them. And if you do, they're like 3 times the price. So I've kind of went back to my competitive side that gets me into TCGs. So I'm really excited for ranked battles to start in both Pocket, and I've been enjoying TCG Live as well.
Nice.
As for the set, which was the original question, I'm just waiting till I can pull my Wug Trio and start trolling people with RNG.
Yes, I did get a Wug Trio on my second pack that I opened. So I was pretty excited about that.
I'll get there soon. I think I have enough hourglasses for 10. Maybe that's how I'll start my weekend.
I've been going through the battles that of course come out with this pack, and I've got 43 hourglasses right now. So, and I can rip a pack in an hour. So I'm gonna
almost there.
Crack a bunch. Yep.
End of the episode. Well, do you have another highlight, Jordan?
No. I mean, like I said,
fair enough.
I wasn't overly excited with this direct. I always like these kind of things. I'm always in for, hey, we're doing a big promotional thing, even when PlayStation does it. And I would say more of PlayStation's are miss than they are hit. Whereas Nintendo, you can usually trust they're at least going to bring some things that you haven't seen before or haven't heard. It's rare that Nintendo does straight up just third party, right? They always have, like we say, the weird Nintendo decisions. They always have that weird flavor to them. But ultimately, I mean, you messaged me about this one last night when you first saw that it was announced. And I said, this screams to me, somebody forgot they had third-party partnerships they had to announce. They had made deals with marketing for other games that they had to put out. And they were like, oh, crap.
Fiscal,
Exactly. Let's get this out before we take up all the oxygen in the room next week with the Switch 2. So...
Yeah, that's true. It's like, we'll get this out before Switch 2, so he gets this moment to shine. And it's like, this is the last possible date that we can do it. Exactly. There you go. Well, I'm glad you said that, because I also didn't really have a highlight after that. Like, my 2 things. Rhythm Heaven and Pokemon. Man, not even Patapon got my juices going. Anyways, we are going to move on to our second topic of the show, your last minute Nintendo Switch 2 predictions, rumors. So Jordan and I have prepared some of our, predictions, wants, wishes.
Mine are both predictions. One of them has a little bit of wish sprinkled into it, I would say.
All right. I only really have one wish.
Okay.
So I don't know how you want to start. Maybe you can, if you have more than one.
Sure. I'll start with the more obvious one, because this is something that I've actually talked about. Well, more obvious, I mean, debatable. Anyways, shall I dive into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, first, let me just adjust my camera for a second here, because a keen eye may notice, for video watchers, something in the background that hints at what this prediction will be. Now, this prediction is also something that I have actually talked about on the show before, so it might be somewhat obvious. Now my background is a little dark, I noticed, because I have the red light on instead of, the normal light. Here it looks like I'm casting a spell or the devil's coming to get me, something like that. Anyways, so Nintendo Switch 2 prediction number 1 for me. Nintendo, of course, is going to go all out on what the hardware looks like, how it functions and everything. But the big new feature that we're all expecting is this wonderful feature that I have absolutely no problem with and don't think is silly at all. Of course, being able to use your Joy-Cons as or similarly to a mouse, a computer mouse. So I do think, yeah, that's right. Mice up. That's what we say. Yeah. What do you got there?
Us
Razer?
PC gamers. Yeah, Razer.
I have a Logitech because it's ergonomic. Anyways. Yeah, that's right. Carpal tunnel, rise up. Anyways. So I think they're going to show off this new feature, of course, the functionality that you turn the joystick on its side and it's like this weird little mouse that I think is going to suck. Anyways, the point is they're going to announce it by being like, look at this cool new feature. But the way they're going to show it off is by unveiling, and this is what it's going to be called. I seem like I'm an insider here. I really know nothing. I'm just throwing everything I've got on the table. It's going to be a new game called Mario Maker Plus. And the plus is going to be a little plus symbol. Mario Paint Party. So it's not... Now, the wording here is very specific. Mario Paint Party. Not Mario Party Paint. That will come further down the road, I'm sure. It's going to be Mario Maker Plus Mario Paint Party. And of course, they're going to show it off. It's going to be Mario Maker like we know and love. Maybe there'll be some new features, I don't know, or new styles or whatever. But the big thing that they're using to show off Mario Maker plus Mario Paint Party is, of course, let's look back here.
Oh, gosh. Oh, no, I know what he's pulling out. I think I know what he's pulling out. All right. Jordan's holding something. Yes, I knew it.
That's right.
The mouse pad.
I have the Super NES mouse pad plus mouse that came with the thing. That came with the original Mario Paint.
Wait, so you're saying the game will come with an actual mouse?
No, I'm not in any way. This was just a hint. This was just a hint at what I was going to unveil. So I think that they will show off how this new mouse functionality works with the Mario Paint Party side of the new Mario Maker game. Of course, that's something that we had kind of talked about in a past episode. But I think, you know what? I'm throwing all my chips on the board here. That is going to be the name. I'm channeling my psychic inner Nintendo here.
Jordan,
I feel
next week. Yeah.
I feel it from my friend's uncle told me, shared a secret with me, that it's going to be called Mario Maker plus Mario Paint Party. If this comes true, I will lose my mind because I will legitimately think I'm a psychic. Anyways, so yeah,
your job.
That's right. I just think that it fits with Mario Maker. I think it was actually you that came up with that idea, kind of put 1 and 1 together, or 2 and 2 together there. But I just think it makes so much sense if they're going for this weird mouse thing to revive Mario Paint. And I don't know that it will be much more than, hey, Mario Maker, you're building your levels, you're placing the blocks where you want them, you're placing the traps. Well, now you can be more precise because you're not using a joystick. Of course, you're using a mouse. But on top of that, we wanted to throw a little something extra in. So look at this cool mode where you can basically color stuff, right? And yeah, maybe it's kind of more marketed towards kids. But I could really see them doing that. Now, for bonus points here, I'll throw in the fact that they release a Joy-Con colored like this bad boy, like the SNES mouse,
yeah.
Right? I think that's
hot. I want that.
That's getting out there a little bit. I don't actually think they'll do that, but it would be cool if they release some alternate color scheme Joy-Cons just to suit the mouse, right? I mean, give it this purple, right? That purple is slick, and then of course we've got the darker gray and then the lighter gray that of course is kind of yellowing. But anyways. Okay. That's my first prediction. Mario Maker plus Mario Paint Party.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll stamp that.
Yep.
Come back next week. I'm sure we'll be kind of watching live to see if we nail anything.
That's right.
That's awesome, though. Mario Maker Super
plus,
Mario Maker plus Mario Paint Party.
There you go. You got it. You nailed it.
Okay, but then you were saying Mario Party Paint comes later.
Yeah, I mean that's we could talk about that another time. I just think that the big part that I missed is this is going to be one of the only games that uses this mouse functionality, and then it will die. It will disappear from the face of the earth until 2 years down the road when a new Mario Party comes out, and they call it Mario Party Paint. And painting with the mouse feature is, I don't know, hook.
Everyone's gonna be their little mouse.
Exactly. Exactly.
It'll come with little like plastic mouse pads, like you showed.
Yes.
Everyone's just gonna be scribbling like that.
That's right. That's right. It'll have like some aspects of. You remember Draw Something? Do you remember that
on the
app?
phone?
Yeah. It'll be like similar to that, right? But you'll be using the mouse instead of using the touchscreen, which is way easier. So, anyways.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
I like it. I like that. That's a software prediction. Maybe I'll need to come up with one.
Look, that's hardware and software. Okay, that ties the two together.
Whoa, okay, 2 for 1. 2 for 1.
My other one is more strictly software, so that's why I point that out. But
okay. Yeah. I like it though. I like it. Yeah. We'll see next week. Maybe we'll. I was gonna say put some money on it, but I don't know who's gonna win.
I don't want to put money on it.
Well, my prediction's not as crazy, but
that's okay.
It might be crazy. This is more of a wish. Like you know how I said there's a little sprinkle of a wish. Yep. I took the whole bucket and like dumped it. So my prediction / wish, maybe leaning towards the wish side, is that out of the box, the Switch 2 will automatically optimize Switch 1 games so they run at 60 FPS.
Now we're talking.
Up-res to 1080p or 4K.
1080p. So wow.
Any game. The Switch doesn't need like a Switch update. Somehow they're going to figure out. I'm not the engineer. It's not my problem. They're going to figure out.
You sounded very Trumpy there. Not my problem.
Get their hands. Yeah. They're going to figure out how to it's like, hey, this is Breath of the Wild. I know how to make this run at 60 FPS, and it'll just do it out of the box. And it doesn't need to be like Sony's like PlayStation 5 version or Xbox's
the
whatever. Yeah, the pisser. It doesn't need to do that. It just knows how to run games better, like a PC. When it's like, hey, I'm more powerful than the game asks for. I'm just gonna run it a little harder.
Yeah,
like
run it harder.
It's just gonna know.
That should be the Switch 2 motto or logo or whatever. Run it harder.
Run it harder in mouse mode.
Yeah, that's in mouse mode.
That's my prediction, because it also kind of falls into the weird Nintendo decision. It is weird for a console to just work out of the box. I guess not really. It's just Sony, and then like Xbox does their weird thing as well. Ideally, that's the way it worked. Make it a little more PCE.
That would be great. Are there any games in particular that you're looking for a boost on?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay. Did Tears not run super well all the time, or not super smooth?
Well, it ran at 30 pretty consistently, but like I'm just used to playing games all smooth and fresh now.
We want the best. We want the best now.
Yeah, at first I forgave it because like in 2017 when I played Breath of the Wild, the gap wasn't as big yet. But what is it, 2023, 4, 5, whenever that came out, the gap is wide enough now.
Of course.
That it's like I can go home. My TV's 4K now since 2017. It's got HDR on the PlayStation, so this is what it could look like. But it's giving me a headache.
It could be better.
Pokemon Scarlet as well. But I don't know if there's any saving that game. Maybe they just shouldn't touch it. Let it live as a reminder of what happens when you push it too far.
That's right.
Trying to think of another game. I don't know if there's any other ones. Most Switch games run pretty smooth. There was a period of time during like the Wii U and early Switch days where it was like Nintendo games will run at 60. They're just that good at optimization. And then they kind of just slowly floated away from that and people forgot. But
fair enough. What are your top 2 Switch games?
Oh,
and I say 2 because I know what my top 2 are, but if you ask me for a top 3, I don't know if I could give you a third. So
let's see. Like Switch exclusives, eh? Or
Yeah, I would say. Or, you know what, honestly, just games that you would play on the Switch. If there's a game that the Switch is your preferred console, then yeah, throw it out there.
And this game has to exist on the Switch, I'm assuming.
Well, yes, that's the point. That's the point.
Well,
I'm
you
asking
said
what
like
your
that I could
Switch
play
games
on it.
are.
I'm like, oh, I'd love to play Monster Hunter Wilds on the Switch.
Well, but you can play that on a Steam Deck, right? I assume.
Yeah.
Although apparently PC performance isn't great. But anyways.
Yeah. You can play Monster Hunter
Rise.
Yeah. I almost said for Unite.
Okay, so what are your top 2 Switch games or games you prefer to play on Switch?
I'm going to say the first Zelda Breath of the Wild. Or I guess Breath of the Wild. I think that one was right place, right time for me because I had a lot of downtime at my job at the time. So I was able to play that portably. And
at your job?
I mean, during my off time, I had a lot of off time.
Not
while I
your
was
off
working.
time at the office. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it was really fun too. Like I remember early having to switch. I was like playing on the TV and I was like, oh, I gotta really use the washroom. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That was a fun moment. So I'm gonna say Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
I haven't played enough Tears of the Kingdom
because
that one
didn't grab you the same.
Like I said, the graphics. I know it's such a minor thing to hold on to though, but there really is like I come home and I'm like, I had a long day at work. I don't want to work mentally to enjoy this game.
Yeah.
So kind of skip that. And my second game, I'm gonna say the newest Mario Party. Jamboree.
Oh, okay.
Mario Party.
That's a great point. I kind of forgot about more recent games because I have enjoyed that too. So
because like that one is a game that I genuinely look forward to playing again. And
nice.
like, sure, recency bias. Yeah. Maybe it's not the best game, but it is like, oh, friends are coming over. Like we're looking forward to playing this Mario Party. There's still so much we want to play together with. Well, and it's been a while since we had a game like that.
If you get a Switch 2, whatever, early on, and you have the option to play a game you already have on the Switch 2 because it, is compatible. Wouldn't it be nice if, hey, it's not just compatible, it also gives it a bit of a boost, right? It also looks better. It also loads faster or something like that. So
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Not the most like graphically demanding game either.
No, but it doesn't have to be. Just it comes down to that, performance is encompassing of graphics, of frame rate, of loading times, right? All that kind of stuff. So
can I throw in an honorable mention?
Of course.
Astro Bears. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Astrobot. I was going to say, wow, I didn't know that came to the Switch.
In my super, super fancy Switch. No, it's Astro Bears.
What is Astro Bears?
I'll try to pull up some trailers, but in the early Switch days, and I'm sure this happens now.
Oh, boy.
There was, I wrote Astro Boys.
Nice.
Astro Bears.
Oh, careful. I see the Astro Bears. They look cute and cuddly for the most part.
Well, I'm throwing up the trailer. I hope it has gameplay. But early in the Switch's lifespan, there was a...
Oh, look at that slide.
Thing. Yeah. Okay, can you guess what kind of game this is, though?
It's a Fusion Frenzy. It's a Crash Bash. It's a not Fall Guys, but that other one that was you played as the little animals.
Yeah, Party Animals.
Yes.
It's a lot simpler than that.
Oh,
it is the light cycle from
Tron.
From Tron. That's it.
Okay.
Except I guess you're running around this planet and it's like it gets frantic because it gets more crowded.
All right.
Split screen.
Wow.
This game we picked up for like 79 cents.
Okay,
and then we played it over and over again for like multiple play sessions. As like,
oh my god!
It's like, oh, what do you want to do now? It's like, oh, we could do some Astro Bears. We just played Astro Bears.
Impossible.
Like split screen.
That's amazing.
Tron, like more or less, and then Astro Bears 2 came out, and they're like, well, I guess we got to get Astro Bears 2. And it was
Did you get $2?
Bucks. I don't remember. I think we mostly played 1.
All the memories of Astro Bears, but not Astro Bears 2.
Yeah, darn. Astro Bears 2. I know.
That's
sometimes
awesome.
The sequel is just not as good as the first one.
I dig the Astro Bears. This game looks sick. The font is pretty similar to Astrobot, I gotta admit. And then the O turns into a bear head. Oh, just like Astrobot turning into a robot.
This came first.
Sony.
Astro Boy Bot.
Astro Boy Bot Bears.
Yeah.
Cool.
July 2019. Yeah, that sounds
I like
right.
it.
Awesome. Do you have another another prediction?
I do indeed. This one, I mean, yeah, I'll just get into it. This one leans more on the software side of things. So, of course, we all know that we're getting, at the very least, a Mario Kart, whether that's launch window, launch holiday. We know it's coming. So I actually stayed away from that. In terms of games that will really sell me on a Switch 2, Mario Kart is definitely one of them. So I stayed away from that because it felt too obvious. But we know that Nintendo will launch a console with at least one, usually two of their big franchises, right? They're big all-star players, okay? Generally speaking, that's often, I think, been a Mario or a Zelda game, right? And of course, big thing about Mario and Zelda, those are their mascots, right? Those are their mascot characters. We've got Mario, expanding it out beyond Mario. Those franchises have a number of characters that fall into that mascot category. You've got Mario, you've got Luigi, you've got Peach, Yoshi, Toad. Everyone knows these guys. Kind of in the same realm related. You've got the Donkey Kongs, you've got the Diddy Kongs. You get into a little more obscure characters in that universe, like King K. Rool. But still, we know that Nintendo has celebrated those characters. Then on the flip side of that, of course, I mentioned Zelda. So you've got, Princess Zelda, you've got Link, you've got Ganondorf. Now we're getting into a little more obscure territory, right? Still big, arguably bigger than, the Links and the Donkey Kongs. You've got your Pikachus, your Jigglypuffs, the Pokemon, Mewtwo, Lucario, things like that.
That sounds like a Smash Bros. Roster.
I obviously looked at the Smash Bros. Roster to build this list as I was prepping this. But that's not where I'm going, actually, because I do think, Smash could be a whole topic in itself. So we're coming down the list of these mascots, and Nintendo has a plethora of them, right? We've also got someone like a Samus. We know that Metroid Prime is coming. Of course, that was actually in the Direct today. Samus has a few characters that I think are kind of recognizable, right? You've obviously got Samus. You've got Zero Suit Samus. You've even got Ridley, who is the big, kind of dragon Charizard equivalent, if you will. Then we reach a level of mascot that I think is identifiable, but not necessarily something that Nintendo celebrates heavily. I'm thinking Pikmin, right? Very recognizable. Okay. I actually love Pikmin, even though I've only played 1 and 2. You've got your foxes, or I guess Fox. You've got Falco, characters from Star Fox and things like that. Again, recognizable, but not necessarily the most celebrated. Now, I think they want to look at a level that is up there with the Marios, the Donkey Kongs, the Links and Zeldas, right? They want a character that they can truly plant their flag in as, hey, this is a launch game. But at the same time, they don't want to rely on those tried and true franchises all the time. I'm sure we're getting a Mario at launch. But what's that second franchise that they're going to launch with? Well, there's one icon that I did not mention that I think falls into that category of top 3 franchises in terms of recognizability and ultimately marketability. Mm-hmm. I think just as recognizable as Mario and Zelda or Link, just as marketable as the two of them. If not, maybe more marketable than the Zelda franchise. So I named 2. So we kind of got a Triforce here, if you will. We've got Mario probably at the top. We've got the Zelda franchise on, let's say, the bottom left. But over on the bottom right corner of that Triforce, do you have a guess at a franchise that I think fits and completes that Triforce? Shout them out. Let's hear it. Let's see if you can nail who I'm going for.
There's one I think you're going for, and one that's kind of more what I would pick.
Okay, go for the one you think is less likely, just because I want to hear it.
Probably the Splatoon kids.
Okay, that's a good poll, and you know what? I should have included that in my list, but I did. That's not that's not where I was going. So so let's hear your other one. Let's see if you can nail it.
Then it's got to be Kirby, right?
That is right. I think the Switch 2 is going to launch with a Kirby game.
Oh, that is very interesting.
I took a look. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, the most recent entry in the Kirby franchise, is the highest-selling Kirby game of all time. Now, I did some quick checking. I want to say there are probably some Game Boy or Game Boy Advance Kirby games that maybe sold more because, the market for those was crazy. But from what I saw, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands is listed as the highest selling Kirby game with 7.52 million sold. Now that, in terms of a Nintendo game, in terms of a Nintendo first party game, is not that crazy, because obviously Nintendo sells a gajillion copies of a lot of their different franchises. But I think that game kind of changed the perception of Kirby in a lot of ways. I think to gamers, Kirby has always been there. It's always had its fans. And like I say, it's always been marketable. Everyone recognizes that pink circle, right? But I think Kirby and the Forgotten Lands kind of proved to people that, you can actually make a pretty decent game out of Kirby. And so I think that, a lot of people will be anticipating the follow-up to Forgotten Lands. I don't necessarily think it'll be a Forgotten Lands 2, but maybe they do build off of what they hit with Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. And ultimately, I think that again, this is another SirJordan moment. If I get this right, if I somehow nail one of these predictions, if I nail 2 of them, oh my God, I'm getting a lottery ticket. But if I nail either one of these predictions and they do in fact launch with a Kirby game, I will lose my mind.
It's funny too, because like Kirby has always been the game that comes at the end of Nintendo cycles. But what does that even mean anymore, right? Like,
exactly.
Like,
and
it's not.
I just come back to the fact that like generally they won't launch with just one thing, right? If they're going to launch with a 3D Mario, which I think most people in the industry think they're going to, because it's about time, I think they got to have a B team, right? They got to have something else that appeals to other people that aren't going to be into the Mario or, want something different, right? So I think I got a feeling, I got a feeling that it's Kirby.
A rumbly and a tumby.
That's right. Just like Kirby when he, sucks people off.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Man, I'm cheering for you. I really hope you are.
I'm
are right on both of those, because I also
Me
really
too.
want a Kirby game.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be sick. I still need to play Kirby in the Forgotten Lands too.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I just I watched people stream it and everything, and I just know that people were quite impressed with it. Now, I will say, when I started formulating this theory, I was actually leaning towards Pikmin, but Pikmin 4 released more recently than Forgotten Lands. I think Forgotten Lands was I don't remember.
I got it here. 2022.
2022, and Pikmin 4 was 2023, I believe. So I kind of see Kirby as maybe a bit of an easier game to develop. But also I think there's just a little bit more distance, but at the same time, Forgotten Lands remains in our hearts and minds enough that it could be realistic. Whereas I think Pikmin has been something that they always want to hit, but it just doesn't quite hit in the way that they want it to.
We'll dive into it another time. Why doesn't Pikmin sell more? I like
Pikmin.
It's actually
I like Pikmin too. I loved the first Pikmin. I liked the second one, but I don't think I ever played it to completion. And then
Pikmin
I just
Bloom on your
never
phone.
picked up 2 and 3.
Have you ever played
I thought about getting into that, actually. I've seen some of the Pikmin you can collect, and Pikmin are just cute and cool,
Yeah, they're cute and lighthearted.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that brings us to the end of our predictions. Do you have any predictions, audience, listener? Put them in the comments below. Put them in the YouTube comments, Spotify comments, all the types of comments. You can even message us on socials and whatnot.
Please do.
Please do. And next week we're not going to live react to the Switch 2 Direct. We will be recording our reaction post Switch Direct in our weekly episode. We'll do a bit of a breakdown, a bit of what we liked, what we didn't like, our highlights, similar to this, but maybe a little more in depth, because it is a special occasion, specialer than a regular Nintendo Direct. But we're both excited. Hopefully they announce the mouse mode, the Super Mario Maker plus Mario Paint Party, and Kirby and the Forgottener Land, Sea.
The even more Forgotten Lands.
Exactly. So make sure you are subscribed to tune into that. My name has been Samson, aka Samson XP, on all the socials, at SMSN on Blue Sky. I'm trying to post there more. I'm trying not to just consume social media. I'm trying to be a part of it. It's just a personal thing.
I should probably do that too, but I consume a lot.
And then, Jordan, where can people find you?
People can find me on socials everywhere at SirDrJM. That's SirDrJM.
Excellent. Well, do you also have some wise words to close out the show?
You know what? My wise words for today's show will actually come from the blob, the myth, the legend, the pink one, Kirby.
Oh.
With this quote. Sorry, rules are rules.